Hi there, and welcome back to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. I'm Ryan Burr, joined as always by the founder of the Junior Golf Hub, Roger Nick. And Roger, the holidays are here. Not real sure when that happened, but it feels like the Masters were yesterday, and we were getting ready for summer, and now here we are moving into Thanksgiving weekend, and soon the holiday cheer will be upon us. Of course, there is no holidays for the golf season. There seemingly is something going on just about every week in both the junior golf, the high school golf state championships down here in Florida, just happening. Kind of a rude awakening for the Florida boys and girls as they got 30-degree temperatures at Mission Inn. And there were. You want to know? It's a good idea if you're a Florida stud to play in some cold weather before you go to college, right? Because it's a different game when it's not 80 degrees.
It's such a different game, and you're right. It's funny. We talk about that all the time at GPC because we actually have an academy in the Northeast, and it gets quite cold often. And the reason is that we wanted to make sure that our athletes were prepared to go to college to play in cold weather, because some people don't realize that most colleges are playing in the worst seasons, if you will, those transitional shoulder seasons where it actually gets cold, it may snow. It is a hot topic for us this time of year, and people start going, what do you do right now at the academy in Connecticut? Well, we're outside because we know that someday, just like in the high school championship, you're going to have to play in weather that's going to be 30 degrees, if not cooler or colder than that. So a big surprise for the Floridians, I'm sure, but saw some good scores in that.
Yeah, and it's also interesting when you really look at it. I mean, obviously there's Florida, there's Southern California, but really for the most part, that February slate of schedules, you will 100% see 25, 30 mile an hour winds. Those teams were playing in North Carolina, South Carolina. They're playing in Texas, North Texas, where we know it snows and ice. Cold weather is certainly a part of it. Why we're touching on that is we are kind of in that season. Kids learning to play with more than a golf shirt. I know that is the response that I hear is I can't play with a sweatshirt. I can't play with a turtleneck. I can't play with a sweater. And they're, it's 35 degrees and they're taking everything off before they hit down to their short sleeves. And that just seems like a recipe for the body to get really cold and not be at your best.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it is something, like I said, we actually coach and go through a lot with the athletes and their parents, and understanding that, hey, there's that transition. We talk about this transition from high school golf to college golf, or junior golf to college golf. And there's about a 4, 5, 6 shot gap between what you see. And it's really, part of it is exactly that, right? So you're playing most of your junior golf in the best weather, summertime weather forecast. But then you go to college and you're actually wrapping up and putting on winter gloves and putting on layers. And you start to realize that, hey, your swing doesn't feel the same. You don't hit the same shots. Your ball doesn't go as far. So that's one of those learning moments. I think hopefully most junior golfers get to experience before they go to college, because that is the gap, right? That's a good 2-3 shots easily the first time you actually go through this process and learning that your ball doesn't travel as far when it's 30 degrees or when it's windy and you've got 30 mile an hour winds, gusts coming up. It's overwhelming for a freshman. And it's like one of those things where they're not used to actually failing, or maybe having bad shots or having bad scores. All of a sudden they're shooting 80 and they go, wow, I just feel like I played well. Well, the ball's not going as far. You're not having as much speed. You got 3 or 4 layers on. The greens aren't rolling as smoothly. All of those things feed into, what happens in that transition from high school golf to collegiate golf, for the most part. And it doesn't mean that, if I'm not in Hawaii or I'm not somewhere where the temperature really nice, but you're still going to face it somewhere down the line.
Roger, we're going to get into course management today, and I'm curious, you as a player, and then as a coach, and now obviously founder of the Junior Golf Hub and the facility. Do you change, and do you recommend actually changing your course management when you are under adverse conditions?
Well, I think you got to know yourself, right? I think that is a great question, and one we'll get some answers from Scott today. But for myself, I didn't change my course management. I changed maybe the location where I wanted the ball to end up because of if it's a little bit colder or maybe the wind. I know I have to hit an extra club or two. I'm playing for that if it's missed or those conditions. So, but that's a great question. We can throw that to Scott when he's on.
Yeah, and that is a perfect introduction for our guest today, Scott Fawcett, former Texas A&M Aggie collegiate golfer, went on to have a professional career, and now is obviously the founder of Decade Course Management System that has solved golf strategy by combining shot distribution patterns and PGA Tour scoring statistics. Sounds complicated, Scott. Tell us about it.
Sounds like someone other than me wrote it. The one I actually want to start, Roger, when you say you changed your course, you didn't change your course management, but you changed where you wanted the ball to finish. I logged on, and I think that's what I heard you say. What do you? Isn't that changing your course management?
Well, I say not changing course management.
Keep in mind, I didn't catch what you were saying for.
Yeah. No. That's all good. It was so if the conditions are colder, for example, as a player, I'm accounting for an extra club or two. I'm accounting for if it's really cold, is the ball going to go as far? So I'm moving. I'm not moving my line necessarily. I may move my distance. You're
changing how you get it there, but you're not changing your target.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. That's more clear than what I logged in and heard. I didn't change my course management, or did I think?
Yeah.
Whatever. Anywho, back to what you said, Ryan. Yeah, just Decade was kind of a search to figure out what I was missing when I was playing professional golf. I used to play practice rounds on the Hooters Tour with Chad Campbell and Chris Riley, two future Ryder Cup players. And I just always thought, and definitely incorrectly, I was like, I feel like I'm as good as these guys. And I definitely was not as good as them, but I definitely was closer to them than my results showed. And I mean, I won a couple times. I probably won 2 of 20 starts on the Hooters Tour, which, that was definitely the best tour I played on. And yet Chad was winning half of his starts. I mean, literally half his starts. And in hindsight, he was probably a top 10 player in the world and stuck on the Hooters Tour. But I just didn't get the results. And for me personally, I didn't specialize in golf until, really 10th grade and only played in one AJG in my life. I played a bunch of just 18-hole tournaments here in Dallas. And then when I went off to college, I had an injury. I transferred, had to sit out. I only played probably realistically 4 semesters, maybe 5 of college golf. And next thing you know, of course, naturally, I basically am a totally inexperienced golfer. Let's turn pro, as so many people do out of college. And I think the other sports have it fixed because they basically tell you you're done playing sport, whereas golf, anyone can say I'm a pro. And that was actually our joke. One of our buddies stuck a yellow Post-it note on his forehead, and it just said "pro" on it. That was his announcement. It was the same time that Tiger was turning pro with his big "Hello World" thing.
Yeah,
so it was really just searching. Once the strokes gain data came out, what was I missing? And it was really interesting because, and I think when people call someone an academic, they're usually using it in a pejorative way. But Mark Brody at the end of the day is an academic. Meaning the PGA Tour hired him to solve the statistics problem. That was his focus, and he did a great job at it. I, as a failed playing professional, was like, I wonder if there's anything I can glean out of this to figure out why I didn't make it or at least do better. And once you start digging into the data with that as your goal, it just became very clear very quickly that there's so many old ideas, never up, never in. You've got to hit all the shots. There's just so many things that are just patently false. And it just cracks me up how much I have to argue, especially the leaving putts short thing online, that I don't feel like I can make the case any clearer than I do on that. And again, I can see you kind of like, maybe you haven't seen what I'm talking about, but I'll explain this. If a 20-foot putt has a 4 or 5 foot window of potential speed outcomes, I'm going to turn this thing a little bit out. I feel like I'm getting my hands in here well. So if we use this microphone as the hole, and just for ease to keep my hands in the picture, I could leave it if I'm just trying to roll it 20 feet exactly, I'm going to roll it somewhere between 2 feet short and 2 feet long. If all of a sudden I don't leave any putts short, I'm going to have 4 and 5 foot putts coming back. PGA Tour make rate from 4 feet is 88%. It's not like that's a gimme. 5 feet drops to 75. I'm pretty sure. I don't have my glasses on. I haven't looked at that in a long time. I'm pretty sure it's 75%. And importantly, though, I've now centered, like by definition, my putts 2 feet past the hole. If you hit a putt 2 feet past the hole, it's obviously got enough speed. It's going to lip out some. The guys at lowest score win figured out that you've made the hole over 50% smaller. So you've centered the majority of the inner 50% of your putts of this normal distribution curve 2 feet past the hole. You've made the hole half as big as it is for the majority of your putts, and you're going to 3-putt. If we take that same speed profile and we leave 25 or even 30% short, I've traded out that 4-footer for like a 1.5 foot putt short, and I've now centered the majority of my putts just past the hole, making the hole, much bigger than it would be if you centered your putts 2 feet past the hole. So I could argue your make rate potentially could go up. It's for sure not going down. It could potentially go up by making more putts, and you're for sure going to 3-putt less. And people just can't wrap their head around. I'm not saying I want you to leave it short. I'm just saying you're going to leave some short, and argue with guys like Brad Fax and all these other dudes. And then you can just go take their shot LinkedIn and be like, Brad, you left 16% of your putts short, 1 in 6 putts short from 16 to 20 feet. That's a lot more than I ever would have thought from the best putter that's ever walked the planet. I mean, I got a DM last night, a random stray from a guy that played golf at Texas. He's a mini tour guy. He's never DM'd me. I've never met him. He's just going off on me about, that's just ridiculous to say you have to leave putts short. I'm like, and that's why you're on the mini tours, man. Like, it's very straightforward. So we'll just kick it off there, Ryan.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, actually, with that being said, that's a great spot to kick it off, because I want to go back just a little bit. You've been on before, but I don't really think that we've gotten the real definition. So decade is really an acronym for something that you started. Kind of explain what that acronym is, because I think that will actually help our audience, especially our junior audience, really understand what we're doing here.
We could start off by saying the acronym was so lucky, it's insane. I really did do this project for myself, and only luckily for me, because of an elbow injury, I wound up caddying for Zalatoris in 2014 when he won the Texas Am and US Junior. If I personally had attempted to use the system, I'm sure it would have helped my game some, but I don't think that I would have come close to the emotional control to actually implement it correctly without seeing, hey, this thing actually works. I would have been looking at some of these targets. So I originally, after helping Will, I realized I've got a product here that I could do something with. And I was originally going with this idea of beyourowncaddie.com. I owned that website because I was thinking, the way I'm talking to Will, I would never talk to myself, ever. And so I was originally going down that road, and then I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, and I was watching some of his business mastery content, and I was like, all right, if the greatest salesman on the planet says you have to have a 6 or 7 letter acronym to explain any process, okay, we're going to take, because Will said you've given me 25 years of experience in 5 days. And so I was like, okay, we're going to take decades off your learning curve. So the acronym is distance, expectation, correct target, analyze, discipline, execute. And the amount of luck that it took for the first word I tried to perfectly work. Okay, I finagled the C with correct target a little bit, but it's just the process. It is the process of choosing a good target. First thing we need to know is how far are we? That's where all decision making starts, is how far are we from the hole. The next one of expectation, I didn't let Will hit a shot. I caddied for him in probably 100 rounds over the next. I mean, I would always go caddy for him in the U.S. Amateur and some other tournament in the summer rather. And I never let him hit a single shot without knowing the expected strokes to hole out from here. And again, they're all pretty roughly accurate. But if he had an 8-foot putt, that's 50-50, I'd be like, Will, this is a 1.5 strokes to hole out. If he's in the fairway to 100 yards, Will, you're 2.8 strokes to hole out here on PGA Tour average. Because once you start seeing those numbers, they're the best players in the world, but the numbers aren't mind-boggling by any stretch of the imagination. And so I do believe that was like the real key for him of stop trying to force things. See correct target is when you start doing the actual target selection. So we want to be aiming, and again, this is really hard to do in audio and without an hour and a half on this one idea, but we want to start by aiming a certain amount of yards from the edge of the green based on the length of the shot. Whereas normally people would say, oh, this is middle of the green or this is at the flag. Golf is the only sport that's not played on a uniform field of competition. So every football field, soccer field is the same. Baseball basically is. I get it. We've got different outfields. But every hole in golf is completely different. So you actually need to start from the edge of the green, because if we're 100 yards into number 18 at St. Andrews, the green is 52 yards wide. Middle of the green or at the flag is not very good. You want to start from the edge of the green the pin is located closest to, because we don't want to be too conservative either. People just think that Decade's all about conservative golf. It's not. So we start there, and then analyze is what's the surrounding hazards, what's the speed of the golf course, is it playing firm and fast or soft, what's the wind, what's the temperature. And there's no reason to overthink it. Like when Mickelson, there's that one video of him be like, well, I've got this, and so this is the ball's above my feet, and it's going to do this. Like it's not that granular. It does not have to be that crazy. You'll grow into that. De-discipline, that's the main one that I don't quite know. There's only a couple things I explained to Will before that first tournament I caddied for him in the Texas Amateur, and it was like, okay, buddy, I'm going to tell you most likely most of our targets are not quite going to be the flag. So even if we're 130 yards, you're hitting a gap wedge, the pin's 4 yards from the left, I'm probably going to tell you to aim 3, maybe even 4 yards to the right of that flag. But I need you to really try to hit it there, because most good players, we know to aim slightly away from the flag in that situation, and then we kind of hope we pull it. And what I try to tell people is you've never stood on the range a single time and hope you pull it 5 yards from where your target is. But every single tour player that I've worked with laughs when we get to this part of the conversation, because like, dude, I do that 8 times around. And so kind of by definition, when we're aiming very far away from the flag, it's because it's a hard shot. It's longer. The surrounding hazards are more difficult. There's something going on that's making us aim away from it. And now you're putting a non-committed swing on it, which is, again, the very definition of insanity. Tiger, I've got a great quote from him in a video in the app where he's like, I play aggressively I play to my spots, but I play aggressively to my spots. So wherever that I choose that spot to be, I'm going to be playing aggressively to it. So he's really understanding he's going to let the randomness, the variance of his shot pattern without getting too mathy, be what hits the ball close. And this really, I know I can just, you can ask me one question, I'll just go for 12 minutes, but that all circles back then to the Tiger 5, which the main things he was trying to do on the golf course was not go out and make more birdies, not go out and do all this amazing stuff. It was don't do the stupid stuff that makes you feel like you should have shot lower every time you play. And just to put a ribbon on the acronym, execute. That is your pre-shot routine. It's not that I want you doing the same physical moves. Okay, my right foot comes in, I check. My left foot comes in, I check. No, I want what's going on inside your head, your inner conversation to be what's on a loop. The physical part will work itself out, but I don't want you standing over a shot and thinking don't go left or don't go right. If there's a reason you don't want to go left, we should have chosen a target that takes that into consideration. And so there's no reason to be thinking that anymore. You've never stood on a range and thought don't go left or don't go right. So we're really trying to get our range game onto the golf course, which requires slowing down in practice quite a bit. And then at the end of the day, you're just hitting shots and finding the ball and running the process again and see what happens.
Well, Scott, we're out of time today. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, that does take.
I could keep going for 10 more minutes on that idea.
Yeah.
Listen, junior golf, which is we're #1 podcast in junior golf. It's not a million, it's $1 billion industry. There are more junior golfers than any other entity. And the question I get more than anything else is, My son or daughter is the best ball striker in the world. They are unbelievable. They just have horrible course management. If they only had course management, they would win every event they ever played. And that's really what Roger will tell you. You actually get that from parents, that
You're not exaggerating.
everything's great except their course management. We just don't know what to do. Help all these parents that have the next Tiger and Annika that just need a little course management.
Well, they're probably right. No. Just a quick story that I actually met Zalatoris through his dad. I own an electricity company here in Texas, and when he got transferred from San Francisco to Dallas to be the asset manager of the Gallery Mall, that was one of my electricity accounts. And so he calls me in. I mean, I'm going to get fired. Like, he's been transferred in to take over for the prior asset manager that wasn't getting it done. He's going to have his own energy broker. And I just happened to be wearing a Bent Tree Country Club logo. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, we just joined there. My son's a really good junior golfer. Are you any good?" And I'm like, "Well, this is my one chance right here." I'm like, "I'm a 4-time club champion, Korn Ferry Tour member, D1 college golf." And he's like, "My son is the best ball striker you've ever seen on the planet. I swear to you." And I'm like, "Man, I can't wait to see it and meet with him." I'm like, "How old is he?" He goes, 9. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
We go out and hit balls that weekend, and his golf swing looked identical to what it does today, and he didn't miss the center of the face a single time. And I was like, all right, this kid's actually pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
So, what I would tell the parents is they're right. Probably, again, they're not right that the kid's the best ball striker, but they're right that they just aren't managing the game very well. And the challenge with it is, in football or baseball or, every other sport, you're working with, theoretically, a coach that knows what they're doing. That's why they're coaching whatever the team is. But you're on the field of competition. Again, that's where everything changes with golf. You are actually on the field with your coach. So you can put the middle linebacker. You stand here. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. In golf, we're standing on the range, and they're just trying to teach you how to hit the ball. So it'd be like if you just sat there with a tackling dummy and just kept on hitting it, and then they just said, "Well, there's the sport right over there. Go figure out where to stand," because you wouldn't technically have any of that information. And so I've toured the world for the last 10 years telling junior golf parents specifically, your kid does not have a prefrontal cortex yet. They are technically just incapable of making good decisions. And now that I have a 16-year-old daughter, I realize how much I have undersold that idea, because some of the decisions I'm like, man, buddy, we got to do a little bit better than that. So what we're really up against with junior golfers is, I'm not saying they're dumb. They just don't have that last piece of the brain that, there's a reason why the front of our head is big and the front of an ape's head is not big. There's this last piece of a brain that's in there that helps you make good decisions. And again, at the end of the day, it's why this is a crude joke, but it's why an 18-year-old makes a much better soldier than the three of us would, because we're like, guys, they're shooting at us out there. Do we really want to go running out there? Whereas an 18-year-old, they basically give them a couple shots of whiskey and sing the Star Spangled Banner and just let's go. And that's just because they think they're invincible. So that's junior golfers. Well, I know I can hit this shot around this tree, and you probably can. You're probably going to put it to 80 yards and in the rough and make bogey, or we could just pitch it out sideways here to 130 in the fairway and eliminate that idea of a double. Again, circling back to the Tiger Fives, avoid doubles.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that you're absolutely right on that. That the brain, these junior golfers, their frontal cortex isn't developed, and I know we've spoken about this a little bit about our PDI and our player development index, and kind of the lead factors, and understanding those mental skills are that, in fact, you can't make best decisions as a adolescent, and it's developing. So you have to learn how to accept that and understand that, and also you got to make sure that you understand you have the skills or not have the skills. And I think one of the misconceptions out there is from parents in particular. It's not just parents. The kids also, to your point, I can hit any shot, anytime, anywhere mentality. But parents in particular, though, think because the kid didn't pull off the high draw, to a back flag into the wind to win the tournament, the HAGA, whatever, they're lacking something. They're lacking some kind of mental fortitude. But in fact, they're just lacking those skills necessary to hit that shot under those conditions at that moment, which happens with everyone, right? I mean, it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you. I was just agreeing.
Yeah. So it happens with everyone in the sense that, you've got to know what you're capable of. Then, as you make the game plan to what you want it to be, it just gives you so much more confidence that, hey, it's not just me. It's just, hey, golf is hard and I have these abilities and I trust these abilities to my maximum. Now it's how do I make the best decisions to score my best on any given day, right? And I think, what credit to you. I mean, you've actually seen this, you've lived it, you've seen it, and you're now growing this, which I love, is how there is a game plan. And it's not mental. These are things that you can do because you actually have the playbook for it. It's not, hey, I have to overcome something. No, it's just these are factors that you can create before you actually go and execute a shot.
An absolute 100%. I mean, and what you said earlier was, I can hit any shot. I can go out and do the 9-box drill. I mean, that's not very difficult.
Right.
Now, does that mean that my low, medium, and high draw, just because it's going through that trajectory and turning the direction I want it to, that doesn't mean it was a good shot. I mean, they've got that video from Golf Digest with Cam Young hitting all these shots. And it's like, well, yeah, but what was he aiming at? Just because he can make the ball move that direction does not mean that, for Cam specifically, the draws, sure, it's turning that way, but the shot pattern's for sure going to be bigger than just hitting that stock fade. Mm-hmm. And once you realize, like, let's say the pin's in the back left, Cam's 190, he's got a 7-iron. Dude, par is an incredible result. He doesn't need to get a look at birdie from there. And so just what people don't realize is, if I'm playing a fade, let's say again, that 190 shot for me would be about a 5-iron. For Cam, it would be a 7 or an 8-iron. The left side of my shot, if I'm playing a fade, the left side of my shot pattern, it's not like it's still a 10-yard fade like mine would be from there. That's because path is more consistent. The left side of your shot pattern, when as a right-handed player trying to play fade, is just kind of a straight pull. It's not that far from the draw you're wanting to see working back to the flag. And what we're really trying to do in golf is eliminate double crosses. That at the end of the day is, in my opinion, the biggest skill in golf is not double crossing it. And so if you think about, and again, I don't know how into the weeds we get here, but path is more consistent for a good player. So if we're playing a fade, path needs to be left of your target line. And I think the very definition of great ball striking is being able to keep the angle of your path as close to the line of your target as possible, while always keeping the face between those two. Mm. So if I need to put a bigger path in order to give myself a bigger wedge to keep the face between, great. And then as I get better, that angle starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. I always want you to be playing some shape. I don't think that playing a straight ball, but I mean, with your short irons, again, this is where making definitive statements in golf just doesn't work. With your short irons, it should be pretty straight. The exact same face to path relationship with a 4-iron is going to be more curve. And then the next thing that you said is having a game plan. Like, that's, to me, one of the biggest keys of something like a decade. We're going out onto the course. We've already done our tee shot selections. We have a very good idea of what we're going to do out there. And I try to use this word because it's extremely offensive to most people. If you just punt your game plan on 7 because it's not going well, you've quit. Mm-hmm. Not like I'm crying and I'm walking into the clubhouse dragging my clubs behind me while I kick a can in. But if you are doing something you did not intend on doing when you started the day, you have quit from what you thought. Now you're like, well, I'm 4 over through 8. I got to get some back here. There was a great Facebook quote 10 years ago. I cannot believe I did not clip out, where a college coach said that a kid made the turn and said, "Don't worry, coach, I'm going to get a few back here." And the coach said, he yelled at him, "Just stop giving them away." If you're a person that averages 2 over and you turn it 4 over, you're not supposed to shoot 2 over that day. Now you're supposed to shoot 1 over and 1 over. You're supposed to shoot 5 over for that day. Mm-hmm. Don't turn it into 8. Right. That's what a college coach really wants to see, is you not take an average round and turn it into a bad one, because with 5 guys out there every single day, someone's going to play bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to don't punt this in the first round because you're trying to get back in the hunt personally, or you think that's what needs to happen. Just keep grinding out the perfect strategy and shoot 74 today. Don't have two of my guys shoot 77. We're dead. And that's, when you look at the to get to match play in the NCAAs, it's usually around 1,170 to 90 shots, is what's going to qualify. And the first team out is always within a shot or two of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the margins of on 1,200 shots, and we're going to be within 2 of making it, is just insane. I personally screwed up our club's Ryder Cup deal a couple of weeks ago, and it's because on the 10th hole in the first of 3 rounds, I had this gap wedge that I was standing a little bit too far from, and I felt like I was. And when I hit the shot, swing felt good, but I had too much loft left, and it just pulled straight left and went into the water. And I'm like, I knew that. Like, I did not feel comfortable over that shot. That was a spot to back off of it, start over. Ball was a little above my feet. And I wound up tying that match. I was 1-1-1, and the matches were tied, and then we went into a playoff. If I don't hit that one shot, and everyone has that one shot that could have flipped a match, if I don't hit that one shot, my team wins.
Yeah, no doubt.
Last thing, Scott. Obviously, you have something that could really help our audience. Just judging from the comments that Roger and I receive on a weekly basis about the course management and how close their kids are. How do they get in touch with you, and how do they start to utilize these mathematics and skills that are available to them?
Well, at this point, luckily, we're trying to be an actual company and grown up. So we've got the website decade.golf up and running. Main thing you'll see there is just a landing page with quotes from guys like Stuart Sink and Keith Mitchell and Zalatoris and Bryson and the other people that I've worked with. Hopefully getting the kids. I mean, the biggest deal is getting buy-in from the kids. But the main thing that I do believe, even if you don't fully buy in, is just knowing the information will help you learn it, that it actually works quicker. And, an anecdote for that is Sam Burns. I worked with him when he was number 1 in the world as a junior. He went off to LSU his freshman year, called me that Christmas, is like, I've got to play more aggressive than this to win at this level. I'm like, cool, knock yourself out. Let me know how it goes. Don't be so proud to not call me if it doesn't work out. And he played a little bit better that spring, but my phone rang in like July or August. And he's like, I've made the same mistake 3 weeks in a row to cost me some tournaments. I see it. I would not have seen the mistake if I didn't know Decade. I'm all in. And then he goes out and crushes his sophomore year, wins the Player of the Year, straight through the Korn Ferry Tour, straight on the PGA Tour, and we've all seen what he's done since. And so here's a guy that basically told me, you're wrong. Yeah. Okay. I'm not. You'll either figure that out eventually, or you won't, and you'll be like, God, why did that guy not make it? And that happens a lot too. I've worked with a lot of great college players that don't make it. And a lot of us have had kind of like postmortems on why, and it's they just did not commit to Decade. It takes so much discipline, and that's why guys like Tiger, when people say who's the best, people tell me the Decade's common sense. Okay, who's the best course manager ever? Oh, Tiger and Jack. Well, how can someone be better at something if it's common sense? Nobody's better at 2 + 2 than somebody else. It's common sense. Mm-hmm. And so those guys had the patience and discipline to keep doing the right thing. You've heard both those guys say, we just want to hang around on Sundays in the majors and see what happens, and good things tend to happen. And that's really, at the end of the day, what Decade's all about. So decade.golf, you can Google me. You'll find some good, some bad. and like I say, it really is a labor of love of what I didn't understand as a collegian and professional golfer. So it's pretty, I hate saying it because it's my product, but it's pretty cool how it teaches that. I'm very blunt. The videos, I'm very straightforward. This is how it works. I don't care what you say. And as a result, I think that it works well for people.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Scott. Really appreciate it as always, man. We definitely think that you can help our audience, and we'll have you on again. But happy holidays to you, and thanks for coming on.
Same to you. Anytime.
Thanks, Scott. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Well, Roger, certainly, as always, a wealth of knowledge. I do admire and appreciate his bluntness because, there is no wiggle room with Scott. He believes that this is a missing link for so many. And you and I, we do hear it all the time about if my kid just had better course management. It's like the number one thing. It's more than putting. It's more than the driver. It's the amount of times you hear the last step, they just have bad course management. That's why they're not blowing everyone away and shooting 90.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think, what he said there at the end is so perfect, which is it's common sense, which in my mind, I actually translate that into it's simple. It's so simple, it's hard, right? And the hardness is the discipline to stick with it. And we talk a lot to our players and parents, as you and I have talked about, is that you tell them it's just a matter of sticking with it. It's a matter of staying disciplined. It's a matter of just believing that it can be this simple, but yet simple is hard, as we know, and people move away from it very quickly. And anecdotal story. I mean, as Scott was saying, it's like you just got to stick with it. I mean, I heard, I've had some players over the years who started implementing their core strategy similar to Decade. It wasn't Decade. It was a little before Scott had kind of made it onto the scene, if you will, but very similar in its strategy and its approach. And the players would play the front 9 or the first 6 holes and doing well, but not under par, but just kind of hanging around par. And kind of, to his point, saying, well, they kind of abandoned it and went and they quit, right? And I would tell the parent, well, listen, you can see after, I think we had about 4 or 5 tournament in a row, where it was about 8 rounds of golf, and almost always around the 8th, 9th, 10th hole, you can see where they kind of got rid of their game plan, if you will, and started just going, I've got to make birdies and I've got to go do this, and end up shooting 76, 77, 78. And the parents, and I'm saying, hey, listen, little Johnny here is quitting, and this is what's happening. Well, no, he's not. Look, he's fighting, he's battling. No, he's quitting because he's stopping his game plan. So very similar approach, but I think he's made it even more simple, right? I know a lot of people will get caught up on some of the his bluntness and get caught up on what happens in the data, but in my mind, it's like it's just simple. Just stick with something and execute. So,
well, it's certainly you think about what PDI does, and obviously we've had great success with that this year. But having a game plan, it starts on every Monday morning and it doesn't end until Sunday night, and that doesn't matter if you're playing that week or not. There has to be a routine and a game plan with PDI, certainly course management on the golf course. Like it all, you just can't go out there and wing it. No one's ever just gone out and winged it and ever really been successful at anything.
No. And you'll hear that from time to time, right? When John Daly just said, grip it and rip it, Yeah, but his game plan was to rip it and grip it, and he would take the good with the bad. And boy, there was some horrific crashes, and there were some great victories as well. But that still was his game plan. It wasn't like he abandoned it. That was his game plan. And so it can it's like a routine. You can not have a routine, which is your routine. And I think that's a little hard to sometimes conceptualize, but that's how it works. But I think combining PDI with something like Decade is such a powerful thing. If you think about understanding your lead factors, and that you're physically able to hit the shots, actually do have the golf skills to pull off the shots at a high rate of a percentage or high percentage of the time. Now put that with a game plan like Decade, or that you're using Decade. It's so much information. You're going to feel so invincible going out there with confidence that, hey, I'm capable of doing this, so I'm going to stick with it more often. And I know with our academy kids, we in fact do use Decade, and we use PDI, and it is incredible to see the success with our kids going out there and eliminating. I mean, we had 2 tournaments this year where I don't think we had any double bogeys.
Wow.
And when you think about that, we'd have almost 10 kids per event playing. that have no double bogeys because all they did was manage themselves and stuck with it. That's pretty incredible for a junior golfer.
That's really incredible. And certainly, as we talked about the holidays and talked about some cold months, no matter where you're living in the country, this is a great time, really great time to download the PDI self-assessment, to begin that process of whether you're inside or outside, go through the PDI self-assessment and start to find out in this season when you're really looking, this is a downtime for a lot. This is family time, but junior golfers are going to practice, and they're going to practice, and you want them to practice the right thing. So let's start with the PDI self-assessment on the App Store. Begin doing a self-assessment. Find out every single pro, teacher, PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, they all say the same thing. You got to find out what your weaknesses are before you can get better. And that's what the self-assessment does. So let's start there. For sure, a big thank you to Scott for joining us. Roger, I know you're across the pond, so safe travels to you. And we'll see you back here real soon on the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast.